Welcome to the Youth for Climate and Universities for the Future, Sparking Solutions for Climate Action. I'm Sarah Braun. I'm a PhD fellow here at Politecnico di Torino in the Urban and Regional Development Program. I'm thrilled to be here at this event that brings together exciting and ambitious challenges for us today. We aim to build on the momentum of Youth for Climate. So that's a youth-led initiative by Italy and UNDP to empower and support youth-led climate action projects. We also leverage the expertise of the Italian Network of Universities for Sustainable Development, which showcases the excellence of Italian universities in sustainability efforts. And also, let's not forget Turin's legacy in this, having hosted the G7 Summit on Climate, Energy, and the Environment this past April, where young voices like yours played a pivotal role. The Youth for Climate initiative was even highlighted in the final communiqué as a testament to Italy's commitment to supporting young people. So we'll combine all of these elements over the next 2 days to create dynamic space for you for innovation, collaboration, and impactful action. So, okay, before we dive in though, we've got a few housekeeping notes. Your event agenda is available on the QR code on your badge. And you can use the Wi-Fi connection details that are provided in your registration package. If you want to engage with us on social media, please do. You can use the hashtag Youth4Climate. And lastly, I encourage you to immerse yourselves in this event. Engage actively, connect with others, your peers, and maximize this opportunity to exchange ideas and build valuable networks. Your energy and enthusiasm are what make this event truly impactful, and it's what we're really here to do. So now, to officially open the event, I am honored to welcome Elena Barales, Pro-Rector of Politecnico di Torino.
Make sure we don't replay. Okay, thank you. The rector, unfortunately, could not be here today, but he welcomes you through me at Politecnico di Torino. So here is a premise of Politecnico di Torino. And in particular, I would like to spend a few words on these premises. So this building was a factory which was built in 1920 or so. And it's been a factory for the car maker Fiat until 1982, when it was dismissed and the production moved to a different building in Mirafiori in particular, still in Torino. And this building has been completely redesigned and repurposed by the famous architect Renzo Piano, which wanted to show, by means of this iconic building, the transition for the city of Torino from an historical industrial past to a future of innovation. So this was the core idea of the design of the new structure of the building, which hosts a lot of different activities, like a commercial center, hotel, conference center, and also this area, which is devoted to teaching. Okay, so here we are in the Aula Magna, which is the most important room in the teaching building. There are other classrooms on the other side where we give many master courses and similar activities. This room was also designed by the architect Renzo Piano, and it's really a really nice venue with also acoustic attention to particulars. Okay, so this for the building, and you will discover tomorrow, but I will not spoil it today, another very interesting part of this building. So this will be for tomorrow. For today, I would like just to mention that Politecnico is very, very careful and attentive to sustainability. And sustainability has been the core of our activities since a lot of time, I would say. So Patrizia, which is, the heart of our activity on sustainability, Patrizia Lombardi, of course, that you all know, she started a lot of time ago, like 2009, to work on sustainability in Politecnico. So this is, the proof of our continuous attention, which in the program of the new rector is permeating every activity. So, of course, teaching. In teaching, we want to have students that are aware in their design of the impact that the design can have, on sustainability, not just on performance, but also on sustainability. Also, we of course have a very lively research on this topic, but we are also paying attention to the way we manage buildings and the way we manage our activities inside the Politecnico to be a living lab of sustainability for the entire society. Okay, so this is a very, very, very important topic, and I believe that you will, go ahead in your life and your activities and bring it everywhere in the world. So I really welcome you to the Politecnico, to Torino, and enjoy this very interesting event.
Thank you, Rector, for your warm welcome and the really fantastic story about the space we're using for this event. Now I invite Professor Sachs, President of Sustainable Development Solutions Network. Do we have him? Is he here?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you see me, actually?
Yes, now we can. Yes.
Greetings.
Welcome. Thanks for being here today at the conference, Youth4Climate and Universities for the Future, Sparking Solutions for Climate Action. It would be really great to hear from you regarding the results from the recent UN Summit of the Future, and considering your vast experience, understand how we can create synergies with the SDGs through university collaborations.
Absolutely. Thank you very, very much. And I was very excited to hear about the repurposing and design by Renzo Piano, because when Columbia recently expanded its campus, Renzo Piano did the design of the great building. So there's a strong link there as well, which is absolutely wonderful. Thank you for this initiative and for inviting me. And thank you for the emphasis on solutions. We have problems that need technical solutions and need social and political solutions. The problem, of course, that we face is the climate disaster as part of a more general environmental crisis that also includes the challenges of biodiversity conservation and the dire state of toxic pollutants in many parts of our environment. Focusing on climate, there are two major dimensions to, the climate challenge, of course. One is to end the anthropogenic emission of greenhouse gases, especially CO2, but also the other major greenhouse gases, methane, nitrous oxide, the fluorine gases. And the second is climate resilience. We're in a period of dramatic climate change, which is going to continue no matter what is the trajectory of emissions. And we are already experiencing, and Italy is already experiencing, as is every other part of the world, massive changes of the hydrologic cycle, droughts, floods, massive changes in the distribution of temperature impacts, extreme events, heat waves, and so forth, massive changes in ecosystem behavior. This year, there were dengue outbreaks in Italy, for example, which comes from the warming of the climate and the spread of the mosquito vectors that carry dengue. And there were, of course, very intense outbreaks in Brazil and also in various parts of the Indian Ocean. So the climate action challenge, which again is part of a broader environmental challenge, which itself is part of a broader sustainable development challenge, involves these two dimensions: mitigation, ending the human-induced greenhouse gases, and resilience or adaptation. Let me say just a couple of things about mitigation and about the problem solving and the student and youth leadership in that. On mitigation, there are also two key dimensions of the mitigation challenge. That is to to put it in the vernacular, the decarbonization challenge. One is the transformation of the energy system from a fossil fuel-based energy system to a zero carbon-based energy system. We know a lot about how that should go. And one of the lead studies of that is from the International Energy Agency in a team led by Laura Cosi, whom many of you may know, a wonderful Italian modeler of energy systems, who's the lead modeler for IEA. The basic point of the energy transformation is electrification with zero carbon electricity, electrification of transport, like electric vehicles, and the hydrogen economy for fuel that cannot be in the form of electricity for heavy industry or for heavy shipping or for heavy freight over land. So this is the mitigation dimension. The adaptation dimension is very complex and specific to environments, but it involves a management of droughts, floods, rising sea levels, changing public health characteristics, urban heat islands, adaptation of buildings, and so forth. In general, governments are not great at these long-term strategic changes. They need help, and especially help from technically sophisticated young people, I would say. And the reason is governments don't have the technical capacity nor often the incentive to think long-term. Young people have both the technical capacity and the incentive. It's your world for the next, till the end of this century and beyond. So make this a safe world. And technically, the capacities are in the polytechnics, they are in the universities, much more than they are in the government, in my experience. You asked me about the outcome of the Summit of the Future, which is a pact for the future. The Pact for the Future, like many UN objectives, is highly praiseworthy. It reconfirms the commitment to climate safety. It recommits the commitment to the Sustainable Development Goals, but it's not an action plan because diplomats are not engineers. They're not making pathways, they're stating goals. And it is really for us in the universities to make the pathways, to make the design, to show the technical analysis, to create new technologies, actually, to incubate new businesses or new business models that can make these changes. So I hope that your initiative can focus on these big issues, specifically on the energy transformation, on making Torino or Northern Italy or Italy as a whole or the European Union or the geography of the Mediterranean region zero carbon by 2050. That's the goal of the European Green Deal, but there are not adequate plans in place. A second place where we need innovation, in addition to the mitigation and adaptation, is we need plans for finance. A lot of very good ideas are around, but they don't get adequate financing. There is a structural challenge of financing this energy transformation. It's less in the rich countries than in the poor countries. My concern professionally, as a development economist working with the leadership of the UN, is how to enable the poorer half of the world to gain access to the financing that is needed. One thing I'll mention, all of the evidence suggests that regional cooperation and global cooperation are essential to effective solutions. I happen to be a very big fan, for example, of China's Belt and Road Initiative. The United States is in a weird foreign policy mood where it opposes almost anything of China, even though the Belt and Road Initiative is one of the most promising ways to speed the transformation of the world's energy system. Unfortunately, Italy pulled out of the Belt and Road Initiative because of pressure from the United States. I'd like to see Italy rejoin the Belt and Road Initiative, frankly, because the pressure from the United States was completely misguided. We need cooperation with China. We need cooperation with Russia. We need cooperation around the world in order to make this transformation work. Let me end my brief remarks again by first thanking you. I want to hear the project results. I know that there are many great solutions that are going to be discussed in the coming days. The UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network, which I lead for the Secretary General, wants to support your solutions, wants to learn about them, promote them, share them with universities in other parts of the world, help get them implemented. So that whole agenda is part of the mission of the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network. Also, let me mention that in April 2025, we will have a Vatican Youth Summit in mid-April, which will bring together young leaders, problem solvers from all over the world to discuss exactly the kinds of programs and projects you'll be discussing in these 3 days. And I hope that some of the people that are some of the young leaders in Torino now can participate in the Vatican Youth Summit. So if you follow up with me, and I'm at Sachs@columbia.edu, I would be very happy to find ways to have that participation. So let me conclude that we really need the problem solving. Our governments need it. This is not only an academic exercise, though I love academic exercises. This is a practical need to get these solutions at scale into implementation. So again, thank you for doing it, and I look forward to learning about the results. Thank you so much for letting me share these brief remarks with you also this morning.
Thank you so much, Professor Sachs, for your important and inspiring words on collaboration. Now, I'd like to invite our distinguished panelists to join me on stage. Francesco Covaro, the Italian Special Envoy for Climate Change, a figure appointed by the Italian Ministry of Environment and Energy Security in collaboration with the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. Agostino Inguscio, the coordinator of UNDP Rome Center for Climate and Energy, and Patrizia Lombardi, president of the Italian Network of Universities for Sustainable Development and vice rector for Sustainability and Living Lab here at Politecnico di Torino and co-chair of SDS in Italy. Thank you, guys. Thank you. To begin, I'll direct my first question at Francesco. As the driving force behind Youth4Climate initiative, Italy has shown its deep commitment to elevating the voices and actions of young people in the climate movement. We'd love to hear your perspective on why investing in empowering young people is so crucial in the fight for climate change.
Good morning to everyone. Thanks to stay here with us in Turin, in Italy. Welcome. Thanks to the Polytechnic of Turin to host us in this amazing location. So yes, I am speaking before the next COP, COP29. And I believe that your role inside the climate action is crucial. Why? First of all, because we demonstrated in the past, but also in this moment, thanks to this initiative, your capabilities, your proposals, your solutions connected to the climate change. Normally, I had a position that put me inside the long discussions, long tables, long meetings, with a lot of different declarations, call for actions, and so on. The reality is different. We don't have more time. We need to do something and ASAP, as soon as possible. So the initiative that Italy supported, the Youth for Climate, wants to put in evidence this, that if we want to make action now, we need to involve people that are able to do this. And the best solution, in my opinion, is the youth. Why? Because first of all, you are able to discuss with everyone without any limitations and borders. And this is the first characteristic of climate change. Climate change has no borders. Even if Italy will become the best one in the world for greenhouse emissions, and is impossible in the moment, it's not enough. Because if we want to really do something against climate change, we need to act together at the same time. And what I discovered during my first 1.5 years in this position is that it is extremely difficult to open the dialogues among everyone. Because as you know, we are very divided in this moment in the world. We have several wars, and you know only a part of these. I visited Mauritania, and I had the possibility to see what happens close to Mali. And there are a lot of conflicts, and nobody knows this. And you know why? Because they don't have enough food, enough water. They don't have land to produce their food. And so this creates a problem of conflict, of balance, international balances. And nobody tells us this situation. But is the majority of the conflicts that we have right now on Earth. And we are only at the beginning. So it is necessary to change. Also in the high-level discussions in the UN. And normally, there are a specific part of the population that is able to do this, that is the youth. Normally, it's important that this happens, but if we want to happen, we need to engage the people that are able to propose this changement. So for this reason, we decided, and Italy decided to support this initiative. You know that in the moment we put two. Thanks also to, normally I'm a university professor and I stayed in a room like this. So, and thanks also to the support of the UNDP, we are able to demonstrate to the entire world that you are able to have this position. In the G7, of the presidencies of G7, we tried to propose this to the other leaders. We are only at the beginning of this process, but from my side, what I believe it is that we need to speed up this step. Because as I told at the beginning, this is the situation. In COP29, we have to discuss about finance, you know, so it's not easy when you have to speak about money. It's not an easy task. But it's not only a problem of money, it's also a problem of awareness of what is happening. For this reason, for example, Italy decided to support with the presidencies of COP29 an initiative that creates a bridge between climate and peace with 3 different pillars: water scarcity, food security, and land degradation. And the cross-cutting topic that is migration. Why Italy decided to do this? because we believe that only to put on the table the reality that is happening now, probably it is possible to have the possibility to open the floor to other actors, because it is important to be honest. We arrived to COP29. So 28 COP were gone. And which are the results? We are aligned with the target of 2050 in Europe? I don't believe so. So we need to change. And the best possibility that we have is your possibility to stay inside. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that, Francesco, and highlighting the urgency and the role of youth, the importance of that. On that note, I will turn to Agostino. Can you tell us more then about Youth4Climate, its milestones, and why it's such a unique initiative?
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you to Professor Corvaro and to Professor Baralis for having us here today, and of course to Patrizia Lombardi, who will speak later. But thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here at this fantastic campus, which I think is also like a little bit in a nutshell. I know the professor comes from an engineering background, a little bit of how complex systems can be transformed, no? And I think Torino as a city is a testimony to that, which is really one of the reasons why I think is exactly the right place to be for this Youth4Climate 2024 flagship. The other one is, of course, the fact that we are coming back to Torino in a sense. As Professor Corvaro said, the Italian presidency of G7 this year has put a very strong focus on youth and climate, and we will have a session about that later on. And this all started in the build-up and preparation and work for the Climate, Energy and Environment Ministerial, led by Minister Pichetto Fratin, which took place here in Torino. So that's a little bit the reason why, together with Italy, as UNDP, we thought it would be a great idea to partner with the Politecnico di Torino, with Rus, and to deliver this moment for you. Now, on Youth4Climate, right? So the main question for me, the main point is that essentially, why did UNDP decide to partner with Italy on this initiative? Well, essentially, we are present everywhere, right? So more or less every single country in the world, and we are there always quite in an unintrusive manner, I would say, right? So you have to think about UNDP as a little bit as, you know, the facilitator of the sustainable development objectives of governments and local communities around the world, right? So we don't really come in with an agenda, right? We are basically trying to say, okay, what is your agenda? Let's work together towards sustainable development goals. And in fact, sustainable development goals as our compass as an organization is more or less the only blueprint that we have to operate, which has basically one, of course, very crucial benefit, which is the fact that we are everywhere and we remain everywhere, because it's very, you know, like uncontroversial to be present, and rarely we are forced to leave places because we don't dictate a specific agenda. But of course, sometimes this means that we seek opportunities, let's say, to have more strategic thinking about how we operate, right? Because of course, this creates huge portfolios. I mean, think about the fact that UNDP at the moment has 340 active projects in climate and energy worldwide, making it the largest UN organization working on these themes. He's the largest implementing agency for the Green Climate Fund and the Green Environment Facility, which is, of course, something we are proud of, because, you know, I don't know if you know very well how these typologies of funds work, but it's essentially the funds are there for the governments, for the countries to decide what to do with them, how to access them. And so this is a testimony to the fact that globally, countries all over the world decide to partner with UNDP, invite UNDP to help them to access this financing, which I think, again, to that aspect of trust, be a trusted development partner for every country in the world, is really a great testimony. But I was saying what the challenges are in this, which sometimes is a little bit of a need for more strategic thinking, right? Because essentially we work we're not compartmentalized, but we do work very much with a specific local setup in mind. So when Italy reached out to UNDP to ask to UNDP to turn what was, I think, an incredible idea of the Italian pre-COP, I think, in 2021, so the 26th COP, right? So to think about this thing that Francesco Corvaro said regarding the path of COPs and so forth, you know, think about this. It took 26 COPs to decide that it was worthwhile to have a specific pre-COP dedicated to youth, right? And this, I think, is something that is, well, from one point of view, of course, a little bit scary, but also a great testimony to the long-term leadership of Italy on this specific element. So that moment in 2021 was a global moment, but as Professor Corvaro said, one of those, you know, long table, long drafting sessions, you know, long policy papers moment, right? So what then UNDP came in to do is to turn some of these ideas that were contained in a manifesto that was written by young people that participated in this pre-COP in Milano into like a bit of a actionable roadmap, right? So young people were asking to be heard. And so UNDP designed a platform that is now growing and is becoming one of the largest and most integrated such platforms at the global level. Then they ask for the possibility to test their solutions, their ideas in the local communities with the support of experts. And this is where the Youth4Climate Solutions idea came from, right? So how we can empower people through support in design capacity, and then, of course, financial resources in order to be able to really test on the ground these ideas. But not to do them alone, but rather to work in a network. So to work with the UNDP country offices globally in order to be able to test these ideas with a chance of success, right? Because let's face it, you know, this is not easy, right? So, and that is when the Youth4Climate Solutions pillar came from. And then a third element, which is young people, rightly so, after they were let into the door, let's say in Milano in 2021, you know, they didn't want to lose these opportunities or be outside the door anymore, right? And so together, of course, with many other initiatives that work to facilitate this event that you are part of, the flagship event of Youth4Climate, is part of a series of global engagements that will see youth awarded youth from our solutions, but also partners of Youth4Climate. And I'm really happy to see a lot of familiar faces in the audience to stay where it matters in terms of policy making, right? So here we are in Torino to reflect about this dimension of you know, what is still needed to go the extra mile, but then Youth4Climate will be present at COP29 in Baku, at COP16 in Riyadh, and so forth, because essentially this is a third component that we don't want to miss, right? So the chance of giving young policymakers, young leaders in their communities to engage in these processes. And on this, of course, we are working with also like, you know, partner initiatives such as Youth for Capacity of the United Nations framework for climate change, which again is an initiative funded by Italy, which gives you a little bit of this strategic vision, right? So there is essentially a plan behind it. Now, the other aspects are, just signal if I'm speaking too long, please. The other aspect that I think is really important for us is this aspect, and again, this is why I love the idea of being in probably the best university in Italy to explain this, is that, of course, you know, we learn by doing, right? So what I like is that, you know, every year the plan doesn't change radically, because you have to stay, you have to have a compass, you have to follow your, you know, your strategic thinking, right? Otherwise, you waste a chance essentially. But we adapt based on the feedback of our constituency, which is you, right? So for instance, this year we decided that the financial support should be larger and should be 2 years long rather than 1 year long to support into the implementation phase and to really kick the UNDP machinery in motion to support young people. We decided to, based on the short pilot that we did last year, to use in a much more integrated manner the support that was available to young leaders across the world in preparing for this initiative, right? So I forgot how many hundreds of hours, I must say, of pro bono work from UN colleagues around the world went into supporting this. And then a final point, which was stressed by our administrator, which sounds a little bit like a security guard or something, but is the head of our organization, right? The United Nations Development Program in Rome last year when we had the 2023 Youth4Climate. If things are good, right? If things work in a strategic manner, then investment is never a problem, right? And so UNDP has decided to co-invest with Italy through its small grant program to make the Youth4Climate program even larger. So this is just to say that for us, UNDP as an organization is a key element of how we deliver on youth and climate action, youth and inclusivity. And we want to invest in it as well from our organizations with our know-how, with our global presence. And to the point that now Youth4Climate is one of, I think, 7 flagship initiatives of the climate promise of UNDP, which is indeed the largest climate portfolio of the UN system, and which UNDP is implementing on the mandate of the Secretary General of the UN with all UN entities and agencies, right? So the climate promise is something that UNDP leads on, but leading the whole UN family behind it. And now Youth4Climate is the flagship on youth inclusiveness of, the most important, we can say that without, fear of speaking, too much, of the UN programs on this. And again, final word is just to thank our hosts, but also Italy and Professor Corvaro, because as I said, yes, I mean, the organization is huge, and of course, this is not at the moment, I mean, it's an important commitment, and Italy is staying the course. But of course, we know that the needs are much larger. But for us in UNDP is an opportunity to think strategically about these matters. And also is an opportunity to do something that I think all of you in this room want to do more, which is basically how to turn from the policy side, right? So how you turn from this papers that we write, negotiate, and so forth, into action, right? So for us, for instance, UNDP has ensured that, through its programs, that most of the nationally determined contributions that are prepared by countries worldwide include an element of youth inclusivity in it. And why? Not just because youth inclusivity is correct, but also because studying this matter, we have seen that NDCs that include a broad participation of society, starting with youth, are more ambitious NDCs, which is a good thing. But as the professor mentioned, sometimes ambition can be also difficult to implement. But they're also the more implementable one, which is what I love, right? Because they're really rooted in the society and in what the next generation wants. So we did this at the policy level with NDCs, so lots of writing, and that's, of course, and studying and so forth. But now with Youth4Climate and other programs, we are able to test this policy into the ground, right? So with this, Sarah, sorry for taking too long. Over to you.
Thank you, Agostino. And talking about Youth4Climate, which is such an important program to bring together youth and empower them to actually make and enact change, especially in the university setting, where we can leverage the expertise of scholars and professors and researchers. I'm going to go now to Patrizia. On the note of universities, can you share more about the Italian network of universities for sustainable development, what it's achieved, and the added value it offers to young people? Uh-oh.
Se vuoi usare il mio.
It's okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and welcome also from my side to all of you coming from Global South, coming from Italy, different part of Italy, and also from my side, welcome to those who are in streaming in the other room upstairs, and also via Zoom that are following this amazing 2 days initiative. I'm very thrilled that the Italian Network of Universities for Sustainable Development has been in partnership with important partner as UNDP and the Ministry and the Youth4Climate, this wonderful project, and in connection, in collaboration with other associations like University for SDGs, Youth as Sustainable Development Solution Network, then Jeffrey Sachs has already mentioned all the important aspects, highlighting the challenge we have in front, but also Connect for Climate, World Bank, is really high expectation you have, and that is also the expectation that we try to provide implementation, because I'm not sure how many of you knows about the work and the activity that this network of university has done in the past years, but the idea is really to highlight in a way and provide the power that collaboration among key players like universities. University play an important role in this climate transition, and well, it was like a challenge that from a bottom-up initiative like 10 years ago, now we represent 86 universities in Italy, like 900 delegates in Italy as well, working and exchanging good practices and providing guidelines and support to policy making, also in connection with international initiative like Conference of Parties, where we also sit there in order to support with science the policy making. Well, this is the idea to have today and tomorrow an opportunity to exchange not only what we have done so far, but also what we can do with you, with the youth power, with the potentialities, opportunities for collaboration all around the world. This is really a call for action today, because we need to change. We already mentioned many times, it's time to change, but this change has to come from the fact that we are changed. The education that is really the leverage for this is crucial, and universities provide this education to all of us with appropriate skills in collaboration with all the other stakeholders. Industries as well are represented here, and they will have a session today in order to show up solutions that are collaborative solution with universities and other stakeholders. So my call for action for you, for all of you that are in front of us, and that, well, this initiative is dedicated to you, because we need the power of your vision. And the Italian Network of Universities for Sustainable Development, in all the different topic and working group, has also dedicated a special transversal group that is focusing on student vision. Is our student hub. You will have the opportunity in this networking to make the difference in our very diverse variety of territorial context in Italy, but also abroad, because we know that university has got connection all around the world, and it is from university, from the students, well-educated, also in terms of citizenship, in terms of sustainability agenda. And here I would like to highlight that our network has been able to support all universities also in implementing special courses and what we call the Lezione Zero, the alphabetization on the Agenda 2030, because each different discipline and also this different opportunity of finding a job, green jobs, require all this information and all this education in the different area of Agenda 2030. Really, the idea is that the network is useful for making the appropriate synergy among agents of change. Each university is an agent of change, but is also a subject of change, because in this transition, university can and have to change in terms of education, in terms of approaches, in the way the institutional missions are in a way have to be modified. And so the network support this, support with the community of practice, all this change. The change comes from faculty, staff, and the student that are the target stakeholder for university. So you are the target stakeholder for us in a changing environment, and you are the agent of change. This has been already highlighted very recently in the Summit of Future that has been in New York recently. And Jeffrey Sachs already mentioned the Pact for the Future, where a specific chapter, a specific focus has been provided to the need to have youth participation in decision-making. This is a crucial aspect. The future is in our hand, but it is mainly in your hand, and only collaborative effort can make this change possible. So today and tomorrow is just a small little initiative event that would like to, how to say, put forward a little opportunities to make a future more sustainable for us, but especially for the future generation. And so you, who are the manager of tomorrow, and some of you also of today, can play this major role and, well, are in the same way of thinking that has supported the idea of this organization, of the organization of this event in joint collaboration, because really we think that together we can make this change. Thank you very much and enjoy these 2 days.
Can I add only
Yes.
one thing?
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
Agostino, better than me, was able to mention all the institutions that are behind this event. But normally institutions are persons. And you are here thanks to a great job at least of 3 persons, Dottoressa Ianna and Dottoressa Vignola from my side, the Environmental Ministry, and Roxani from the UNDP. I believe Because I am here, but you are not here thanks to me, but thanks to them that worked a lot for this. And normally it's correct also to mention them.
Thanks.
Also to mention the major role and collaboration that we and very friendly collaboration, strong collaboration. I really would like to join to this thank you to the three ladies and adding a number of other ladies that are there, like Paola, Giulia, Valentina, and all the staff. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all for this wonderful panel and highlighting what it is that we're here to do and the importance of that. As I mentioned before, this is going to be a promising and impactful event where we are going to work on collaborating and exchanging. So thank you guys so much, Agostino, Francesco, Patrizia. So thank you. Due to some last-minute circumstances, Minister Pichetto will unfortunately not be joining us today or tomorrow, but he was eager to express his support, and so he has a message to share with all of you, hopefully here shortly. There we go.
Saluto con grande calore tutti voi, ragazze e ragazzi presenti a Torino. Vi do il mio benvenuto in Italia e in Piemonte per questo nuovo appuntamento di Youth4Climate. Innanzitutto rivolgo un ringraziamento sincero e non formale agli organizzatori di queste giornate, al Centro NDP di Roma e a tutti i presenti, perché se Youth4Climate è diventato una realtà consolidata nel panorama internazionale capace di coinvolgere e di creare una rete attiva 365 giorni all'anno, e grazie al lavoro di ognuno di voi. L'evento di Torino ne è una nuova dimostrazione. Ha ancora negli occhi lo storico precedente di Roma del 2023. C'erano, lo ricorderete, 130 giorni di 63 paesi del mondo. Ragazze e ragazzi impegnati, attivi, con le loro proposte per i loro territori di provenienza, in chiave energetica, per la sostenibilità dei centri urbani, del settore agricolo, per educare al clima che cambia. Torino è stata in questo 2024 protagonista di un grande appuntamento, il G7 Clima, il clima ed ambiente ed energia, sotto la guida della presidenza italiana. L'Italia ha confermato in quella sigla la determinazione con i paesi del G7 di voler guidare il cambiamento necessario, rimarcando la propria leadership. Abbiamo ottenuto risultati che ritengo molto positivi su temi come l'abbandono del carbone, gli stoccaggi, l'acqua, le opportunità per l'acqua, l'adattamento, l'energia da fusione. Ed è edificante, credo, anche leggere nel comunicato finale della Carta di venerdì il risalto che il G7 ha voluto dare al coinvolgimento dei giovani e a Youth4Climate, riconoscendo il ruolo vitale delle voci giovani nel plasmare il futuro sostenibile. Si cita Youth4Climate tra iniziative per dare ai giovani una piattaforma in cui proporre idee innovative. Sempre a Torino si è tenuta nella settimana precedente il G7, come ricorderete, la Planet Week, in un momento di mobilitazione che ha visto la presenza qualificata e protagonista di tanti giovani. Ora COP29 di Baku è alle porte. L'Italia non farà mancare nel contesto europeo il suo impegno ambizioso, pragmatico, nell'affrontare la cosiddetta triplice crisi globale. E ancora una volta credo che da Youth4Climate, da Torino e da questa rete, sempre in movimento, possa arrivare la spinta giusta in termini di idee per raggiungere il miglior risultato negoziale. Come sempre, come ormai sapete fare, andando oltre la protesta con le vostre proposte. Grazie davvero, buon lavoro a tutti.
Yes. I think the theme is clear that your role is so important in bringing meaningful solutions to the table.
Saluto con grande calore tutti voi, ragazzi e ragazzi. Vi do il mio benvenuto in Italia e in Piemonte per questo nuovo
He just wanted to talk again, you guys. It's fine.
al centro dell'NDP di Roma e a tutti i presenti. Perché se Youth4Climate è diventato una realtà consolidata.
All right. So we're going to recap here briefly. We're going to have a session with you young people. So you're going to share their insights and experiences and outcomes of the G7 and the impacts for climate action. It's a fantastic opportunity for you to hear directly from those who were involved. After this, we'll have a break, coffee break, and networking session. So it's a great moment for you to connect with those around you. If you're interested, you can participate in interviews, please do. And then after the break, we are going to explore universities' critical role in advancing climate solutions, focusing on research, innovation, and sustainable business practices. So this session will feature the UN Global Compact and the Scuola Superiore Sant'Anna, showcasing 5 exciting interdisciplinary and multi-stakeholder research initiatives that tackle climate change from varying perspectives. After the networking lunch, our program is going to be split into 2 tracks. So one for Youth4Climate participants and the other for RUS members. So the Youth4Climate program will take place in room 302, okay, 302. And then from 2:30 to 4, the previous awardees will present their project progress. And then we will have Youth Climate Peace and Security Workshop from 4:30 to 6:30, hosted by UNDP and young leaders. Okay, so with that, enjoy the event, engage with everyone, collaborate, speak, talk, meet, and have a good time and enjoy. Please also let me know if you need anything, okay?
So good morning, everyone. I'm Elena Semenzin, Professor in Environmental Chemistry at University Ca' Foscari of Venice, Delegate of the Rector at Ca' Foscari for Sustainability, and Coordinator of the Technical Working Group of RUS, of student community. This is a one-year-old technical working group. So today I have the pleasure to moderate together with Eleonora Bosio, that I will present later, session 1, which is about reflections on G7 outcomes and the impact of youth in climate action. So this session is quite short, but very dense. We'll start with a presentation by 2 representatives of the Young Ambassadors Society, YAS, and then we will continue with 4 additional guests in a panel. So I'll now invite Alberta Pelino and Costanza Lopasso on stage. Alberta Pelino is the president of YAS and chair of the Y7 Italy. At the age of 19, she founded YAS with the goal of empowering young people and helping them to be part of the political decision-making process. YAS is the non-profit organization that works with political institutions, international organizations, and companies to promote projects that empower youth through education programs and youth representation in international processes like the G7 and G20 summits. After graduating in economics and working for several years in trading in London, she founded the social impact startup Phoebe, with the goal of helping women to be financially independent and to reduce the financial gender gap. Costanza Lopasso is part of the Young Ambassadors Society, and this year represented Italy at Y20 Summit in Brazil. She's a sustainability consultant specializing in decarbonization, climate change, sustainable supply chains, and the circular economy. She has an academic background in international and European law with a specialization in environmental and energy law. So Alberta and Costanza, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here today with you, with Costanza. So in this brief session, we will be telling you something about what the G7 and G20 are, most importantly, in which way young people are making an impact and bringing directly their ideas forward to the G7 and G20 leaders. As you may know, this year, Italy hosted the G7 summit, and also Italy hosted the Y7 summit, that is official engagement group for young people of the G7. But before describing this summit to you, I would like to show you a short video to show you with images what the process was looking like. And we are very happy actually to be here because we were in Turin already in April in the occasion of the Planet Week at the G7 Environment Ministerial meeting. And we had the chance of meeting a lot of students and push forward the policy proposal for energy and sustainability and climate change. I would like to take a step back just to make sure that we are all on the same page and just briefly explain for the people who don't know what the G7 and the G20 are. So the G7, it was the first fora that was born, and it was born in 1975 as a response to the economic and oil crisis. So the idea was to put together all the leaders of the G7 countries to be able to discuss and find solutions to the economic crisis. But then at some point, the format became larger, and in 1999, the G20 was born. At that point, they were not discussing just about economic issues, but also, for example, international trade, and later on also sustainability and climate change. Of course, now there is a very important ongoing discussion, say, is the G20 enough? And of course, now there is also, for example, the participation of African countries, and Costanza will be telling you more about this part. Going on the process, so as I was mentioning before, this year was very, very important to Italy because Italy hosted the G7 summit, and there were different priorities. Of course, one of the main priorities was about environmental protection and climate change, but also a lot of discussion of artificial intelligence, the opportunities and the risk, and innovation, and the transformative impact of digital transformation and economic growth, and also the relationship with developing countries, emerging economies, as I was mentioning before, in particular with the African countries. There were a lot of outcomes. We are just reporting some of that on this slide, and we will be more in focus on the outcomes related to climate and sustainability. But just to mention some of the outcome, the G7 summit leaders decided to give support to Ukraine and advancing international peace, promoting economic resilience, partnering with developing countries, and then accelerating clean and energy transition. I would like to share with you a personal learning. So as Young Ambassador Society, we had the opportunity to engage in G7 and G20 tables over the years. And there are two main things that I took home with me with the opportunity of sitting and engaging in these tables. The first one is the consensus. So I don't know if you know that, but the G7 and G20, they take decision with the mechanism of consensus. In other fora and in other conferences, there is the majority rule, for example, but for the G7 and the G20, this means that to get to the final communique and the policy proposal, everyone in the table should be agreeing on the policy proposal that they work on. If there is just one country on the table that is not agreeing on the policy proposal, basically there is not the consensus and there is not the final communique. And this was very important to us to understand because it's very different compared, for example, to the majority. And this is also related to the second point, that having international inclusive approach. Of course, to reach the consensus, this means that everyone on the table really should understand the priorities of the other people on the table, the cultural differences, the different needs of the countries. And this is also the invite that I leave to you today. It's just like to try to use this day to really discuss, to really find consensus, to really go beyond the differences and try to understand what are the links with your countries, with your cultures, just to push forward the discussion on sustainability and climate change, but also more on personal and professional level. And now the most important part, in which way young people are actually making an impact at the G7, G20 level, pushing forward the youth agenda, especially on the climate side. As I was mentioning, every year there are the G7, G20, but also the Y7 and Y20 take places. There are the official engagement groups that gives the possibility to young people from the G7, G20 countries, but not only that, even like other countries, to be engaged in the official G7, G20 agenda and push forward the policy proposal and ideas to the leaders of the G7 and the G20. And as I was mentioning before, this year, as Italy is hosting the G7, we had the honor of hosting the Y7 in Italy. This was organized by the Young Ambassador Society, the association that we are representing today. We co-founded about 10 years ago this Y20 and Y7 processes. We work in collaboration with ministries, with, for example, the Ministries of Environment, and that I really thank also Emanuele, Roberta, and Professor Corvaro for all the constant support that they give to the process, and also with international organizations like UNDP and with the private sector, with the goal of empowering young people through active participation in the policy-making processes. And so this year, the Y7 process started at the beginning of the year and is going to end in December. We talk about different themes, and one of the themes was environmental sustainability and climate change. As I mentioned before, it was a very long process, and we had the honor in April to be here in Turin for the Y7 Energy and Environment, in which we had the pleasure of having a lot of students also from Politecnico, and to push forward the policy proposal that were then presented to the G7 leader on the themes of sustainability and climate change, but Costanza will be talking more about that.
Thank you. Yes, just to give you a focus on what we've done in the area of climate and the environment. This year in April here in Turin, the ministerial meeting on climate change, energy and environment was held. And a lot of topics were discussed, encompassing energy transition, decarbonization, and circular economy, with main outcomes reached, including the phasing out of inefficient fossil fuel subsidies, the creation of a G7 hub to accelerate adaptation actions, and the G7 Water Coalition. So this really highlighted how climate and the environment are key priorities for the G7 and the G20 tables and summits. One of the other main topics that was discussed was international cooperation with developing countries, specifically with Africa. In fact, there's growing representation of Africa at global level, with African Union being now a permanent member of the G20 summit, which gives it a larger platform to showcase its voice. At the G7 level, the leaders also agreed on equitable financing to support sustainable and resilient infrastructure, also enhancing Italy's Piano Mattei and the G7 Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment, which really shows a commitment towards collaboration and mutual cooperation with developing countries, specifically with Africa. Again, I would first like to thank Politecnico di Torino, UNDP, and the Ministry of the Environment, and especially the support of Professor Patrizia Lombardi, Francesco Corvaro, and Agostino Inguscio for helping us organize the Y7 meeting on climate, energy, and environment in occasion of the Planet Week that was held here in Turin again in April. In this case, we had the opportunity of involving the youth and a lot of students for Politecnico as well, discussing topics like environmental protection, climate action, and circular economy. And the youth had the chance to actually identify the drivers and write policy proposals to then present directly at this meeting. So just to give you an example of what this means, you can see we have a policy proposal on circular economy, and the aim was to improve the management of industrial waste produced by SMEs. The youth actually urged the G7 leaders to establish a center of excellence on circular economy to help companies map and optimize their resources and waste disposal through public-private partnerships and the use of a rating tool to measure the company's circularity. But our engagement did not stop there. We also went to the Y20, which was held in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil in August. And one of the main priorities also for the Brazilian presidency was climate change, energy transition, and sustainable development, which shows how important it is at global level for all countries. And as you can see, one of the main policies that we focused on among the 15 that we presented and we will present to the G20 leaders was on environmental transition, energy access, and security. And we urge the G20 leaders to promote universal and reliable access to energy and enhance energy efficiency and security by establishing a decentralized energy system and low-emission flexible energy sources, for instance. Again, our commitment as YAS does not stop here. We have quite an extended youth involvement and representation at global level. We've just attended the World Food Forum, and we will attend COP29 in Baku. And we also have a Global Youth Leaders Program that is a free education program for the youth that focuses on helping young people understand the challenges that companies and institutions face when integrating sustainability and inclusivity within their actions. And it trains young people on the policymaking process at global tables like the G7 and the G20.
Thank you, Alberta and Costanza. Thank you again for this clear and interesting presentation. Now I want to invite on stage our 4 panelists. So Marco Gervasi, Eleonora De Pirro, Alessia Conti, and Alessandra Peruzzo, and also Eleonora Bosio co-moderating with me this session. So Eleonora Bosio is president of University of the SDGs. Sorry. Okay, sorry. I try to use this one, then there is, yeah. Let's try to see which microphones are working. Okay, so back to Eleonora. Eleonora Bosio is president of University for SDGs, which is a youth leader organization, which was born from a previous experience at Ca' Foscari, as Ca' Foscari for SDGs. This organization was born from the desire to promote the sustainable development goals through the organization of activities aimed at creating a dialogue between academic world, businesses, and institutions. So I leave the floor to Eleonora to introduce the first panelist.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First of all, let me thank Professor Patrizia Lombardi for this invitation and for involving us, and also Professor Elena Semenzin from Ca' Foscari of Venice, not only for sharing with me this stage, but also for being one of the first people to believe in our project, in our work. With my colleague Gianluca Freddi, we founded University for SDGs 4 years ago, with the aim to promote sustainable development goals of the Agenda 2030, and help people, help students to have a voice and to promote proposing projects to engage other young people. I can say that it is a bottom-up movement that during this year involved a lot of students and young people. This idea was born in Venice, and you know, Venice is a city that symbolizes fragility, resilience, but also the concept that we need to protect our past while looking toward the future. And with this vision, last September, we went to New York at the United Nations headquarters for the Summit of the Future. And in that occasion, we had the chance to give voice to young people, contributing to the Pact for the Future. It was, I can say, a significant moment to be there. And it was one of the key reasons why we decided to be here in this event, an event that it was designed to foster dialogue, multilateral dialogue, and also an inclusive dialogue, a collaboration, and also a way, an event that want to contribute to give ideas and proposal on the future. We are here not just to reflect, but also to take action. And I think that it's important, as previous panelists said, to translate ideas into proposal, into concrete action. As we heard from Alessandra and Costanza, the role of young people is really important to shape our future. And on this thread, on this line, I want to introduce Marco Gervasi, a dedicated advocate for climate action and a key representative of Youth4Climate. But I leave the floor to him for his presentation and also for this intervention.
Thanks so much, and thanks everyone for being here. Thanks to the Minister of Energy, to Politecnico, and to all of you. Just briefly introduce myself. I'm a strong advocate for climate change and strong advocate for the Youth4Climate initiative, but I'm also I also work in the renewable energy field. I work in the energy access and industry decarbonization. And I'm here also to represent global action on climate change. On that, I sit in the board of the European Youth Energy Network, which is a global network that gathered together a European organization that focus on youth and energy. And as well as I sit in the Global Council of the ARENA, which is the International Renewable Energy Agency. I wanted to start my intervention by quoting some of the intervention that the previous panelists did before, but I got inspired so much by everyone, and I cannot quote everything. But one thing that was repeated by most of them was that we need collaboration from all around the world, from all levels, all sectors, and all actors need to sit together. And I think what the Youth4Climate initiative is championing in is not just powering actions, financing solution, mentoring, but what it's doing is creating a platform that nowadays account more than 18,000 youth around the world, and they're creating a community of people that share the same ideas, they have the same vision of the future, and they can really build a future possible for everyone. I say the word possible because we've been tackled and discussed about the challenges. We don't have just climate change challenges, we have peace and security and many more. And what this initiative is doing is creating a future generation that doesn't see any boundaries. So we want to develop project, initiative, and collaborate in total synergies among ourselves. And I think this is one of the most relevant things that the Youth4Climate initiative is doing beyond what has been discussed already. And probably this is the reason why this initiative has been gained so much recognition at global level. For instance, COP last year, but also during the G7. And it was mentioning that there is a need of inclusion of youth in decision-making process, but also there is a need of giving the tools to the youth. So what has been done in the past year was like giving spaces, giving speaking opportunity, a chance to discuss, joining international forums. But what we really need is to implement our solution. So the Youth4Climate, throughout their initiative and the funding, they are giving the tool to people. They are coming from all over the world to implement their solutions, to go back to their communities and to share also what they've been learning, what we all have been learning being here this year, but also in the previous edition. So I know that we are very strict on time. So what I really want to add here is that I'm pretty sure that by having this kind of opportunity, each one of us after these 2 days will come back to their home, to their talking with their colleagues, talking with their relatives, with their friends from everywhere we are from, and getting back inspired by the solution that we will be here for. This was something that happened to me in the previous edition. I always get so much inspired, so much curious about others are facing challenging and try to solve these pressing challenges. They are different all around the world, and also will inspire other generation, will inspire the younger generations to then take the lead. Because I've been here that we are the leader of the future, that Youth4Climate, it's helping us building what is coming next. But to be honest, this initiative is helping us today. It's helping us to stay taking part to the decision-making processes and to powering solutions and to influence each other. So yeah, thanks again for this opportunity. Thanks everyone for being here. And I really hope you will be inspired by all the solution that you'll be hearing these days. Thanks you.
Thank you, Marco. We don't have to rush in this session. We have some minutes more, so you can go on with your presentation with relax. Now I move to another international initiative with Eleonora De Pirro. She is the network coordinator of SDSN Youth Mediterranean. So SDSN Youth is a program of the United Nations Sustainable Development Solution Network. It was born in 2015 under Professor Jeffrey Sachs efforts, and it aims at giving voices to youth when advocating for SDGs and sustainable development. Eleonora, in particular, holds a bachelor's degree in international studies and a master's degree in European studies and international relations. She's passionate about human rights and sustainable development, and in the future, she aims to continue working in sustainable development advocacy, trying to amplify youth voices and ensure they are valued in international contexts. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Professor Semenzin, for the introduction. And just want to say that it's a pleasure to be here today. I just want to thank Professor Patrizia Lombardi and Paola, who helped me being here today. So as Professor Elena was saying before, I'm Eleonora De Pirro, and I'm the network coordinator of SDSN Youth Mediterranean. But today I'm here also as SDSN Youth representative as a whole. So first, I would like to dedicate a few words to YAS efforts, but also Youth4Climate efforts during these months. It is of incredible importance what you did so far, and not only because you kept the debate alive, but also because you were able to make that step forward into the institutional environment, and that I think it's the one of the focus that we should try to insist on. So in fact, while at the national, regional, but also at the international level, the debate is still alive, and we as youth organization try to do, trying to assist in this regard. The difficulty, in my opinion, in my view here stands in what comes after. And that is in trying to participate as much as we can in the decision-making processes. And apart from this, I just want to say a few words about our organization. So as SDSN Youth, as Professor Jeffrey Sachs was saying before, was born within the UN Sustainable Solution Network that was founded first in 2012, and then in 2015, SDSN Youth became a reality. And it aims at giving a platform for youth voices and help mobilize young people, addressing also, SDGs and sustainable development. We operate both at the global and the regional level. So globally, we engage in a different kind of activities. We try to push from communication to research, but also event organization. We lately published our 2024 Networks in Action report, which highlights the innovative solution be led by young innovators, but also SDSN national and regional networks. We also published SDSN Youth Climate Change Guidebook, which is a guidebook, of course, that helps equip young people of that knowledge they need, but not only young people, I mean, and resources to participate in the climate policy dialogue. And while if we shift the focus at the regional level, we have different youth hubs. For example, the Mediterranean Hub, Youth Hub, which I'm representing, is trying to organize a series of events called F2F with SDGs, where we gave space to young individuals whose work is particularly interested in advocating for SDGs and sustainable development. But that's not only about, of course, event organization, it's also about research, especially in the topic of agri-food sector. And we also try to, collaborate with other youth organizations, such as SDSN Youth Black Sea. We together organized an event called Focus on Food Security. And we tried also to link food security issue in the Med and Black Sea area, also with the conflicts that are going on right now. So these are basically what the Med network is trying to do right now. But I know that today there are some young university students, and not only that comes from the Global South. If you are interested, SDSN Youth Nigeria is very active on this regard. They lately organized an educational program called the CAAP. It stands for Climate Actors Accelerator Program. It is an educational initiative. So if you want to know more about it, just tell me after this session. And of course, if you want to enter in any kind of SDSN Youth Hub, there's a lot. And now just want to say the last few words about Youth 7 and G7 outcomes, just to going back to that. So as I was saying before, and also Professor Corvaro was saying, and other panelists, we as youth, we need some to try to continue to have some space, but not only just from outside. So we need to also to make that step forward and continue to be present at the international, regional, and national level, also within the institutional environment, because that's the only way, in my opinion, to make things to change. And this is important even for non-G7 countries that are now facing multiple crises, from conflicts to food security issues, but also climate change difficulties. And so to conclude, I just want to remember that this meaningful change is only possible with collective action. It doesn't matter if that action is not perfect, because it's too ambitious for that. But the important thing is that we try to insist and continue to insist on these points. And yeah, that's it. And I will be open with you all, guys, if you want to have a chat later. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Eleonora, for your inspiring contribution. And we have seen the importance of youth engagement in the international level. Now we move to a national level. I have the pleasure of welcoming a voice for the future of our country, a voice that represents all of you, university students. And it is with a great pleasure that I announce Alessia Conti, President of the National Council of University Students. At a time when ecological transition and also political decision demand the engagement and leadership of younger generation, Alessia's presence here today is really important. Her leadership and dedication remind us the importance not only of make our voices heard in public spaces, but also of having a concrete impact within institutions where decisions are made. Alessia, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. And first of all, I'd like to thank the organizers of this event and the network of University for Sustainable Universities that really cares about what students think on this important topic. So thank you for this opportunity to raise the voice of students. I want to start saying that it is urgent to take action on climate change because that's something happening right now, something that we can already see in its effects. The lack of water in the south of Italy during the summer, but also the disaster happened last week in Emilia-Romagna. That's something happening because of climate change, and institution and the government needs to understand that it's not just normal bad water. Those effects are impacting the lives of young people, and not only young people, but I want to give a shout out to the 20-year-old boy who lost his life during the emergency in Emilia-Romagna last week. Climate change is not something new, of course. Scientists have been reporting and studying these issues for decades, but only students were able to strike and demonstrate against the inertia, the inaction of governments and institutions, like the big strikes that happened from 10 years ago up until this year. That really changed the agenda of political institutions and governments. Did you ask yourselves why those strikes happened? The answer is actually quite simple, and it focuses on the fact that students know that their future is in danger. Our future is in danger. And we, as students, know that we want to have a future, we want to have a nice future. It seems to be an enormous problem, an enormous matter. And I think with every enormous problem, we need to deconstruct it to face it. So where can we start? First of all, institutions such as universities need to have economic resources to apply, to create projects. We were talking before, even in the last conversations, that when we talk about economics, when we talk about money, it is complicated. Well, it should not be complicated to talk about money regarding the climate change, because the disasters happening right now, and we are not facing in the political way, we are not facing any more urgent matter more than the climate change. So yes, economic resources are fundamental. Also, it is important to educate students more. Patrizia Lombardi, in her previous intervention, said beautifully that there are projects, even in the RUS, that aim to give students an education, a deep education about climate change and sustainability. But I want to add on that also students want to have a specific education on the challenges of climate change and sustainability. For example, we do not just want to be the engineers of the future. We do not just want to be the economists of the future or the manager of the future. We want to be the citizens of the of the future, but not also not just the future. We are citizens, and we should be treated as such, even inside universities, because we are gonna have to, just behave in our society. So yeah, let's start from that. Another thing that as a National Council of University Students, another thing we have discussed is the creation of comunità energetiche, that if we need to translate, we can translate it with energy communities. Basically, it would be the construction of networks to put together different buildings with zero impact on pollution. So basically, buildings would be sharing energy, and that could be important. Another idea to impact on the carbon footprints of universities would be to give students and all people working inside university free public transportation cards. Yeah, because transportation and moving around the city actually impacts a lot on the carbon footprint of universities. I don't want to bother you with any other ideas that we have, because we had so many, but what I want to say is that institutions present here today, but also not present here today, should start by listening to what students have in mind, to what universities have in mind, because projects can be made. What is lacking right now is the economic resources to put that in the reality. We were talking about before investing and empowering climate activists and youth, and that's something that, it surely is happening right now. But I want to go a little bit deeper on that, because my generation, so students coming from high schools or university, is the generation that was able to give a light, to enlighten the public about this important matter. So because of that, I want to say that every climate activist, not just the ones working inside the institutions, should be legitimate in the public spaces and should not be criminalized, such as what's happening here in Italy, in our country. I will go now to my conclusions. It is important to give climate change and sustainability time and resources to be discussed, and to take action right now. But there cannot be a sustainable future without social justice and peace. I want to talk about this because we are facing awful situations all around the world, especially what is happening in Gaza right now, and what is happening in Ukraine as well. We as a country should raise our voice to because peace, it is an important matter, and it is deeply linked also to a sustainable future. So yes, as a National Council of University Students, we do have answers, we do have projects, but institutions, not just universities, but political ones, need to give us more trust to put that in action. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessia. Thank you very much for your contribution. And thank you for mentioning also the efforts of our Italian network of university for sustainable development. In RUS, indeed, we are working at the level of education in order to provide a basic level of education on sustainability through our Lezione Zero sulla sostenibilità. We are discussing together with the ministry. And we are putting in practice at experimental level this initiative at different universities and exchanging best practices, as we always do within RUS. And another way to involve also our students in exchanging best practices and working for sustainable development was the idea that we put in practice one year ago exactly about the new technical working group of student community that today is represented by Alessandra Peruzzo. So Alessandra is going to give us the voice of the technical working group. She graduated in forest sciences at the University of Tuscia and is currently working at the metropolitan city of Rome capital, focusing on the provincial ecological network and managing urban reforestation projects. During her university years, Alessandra served as a student representative and was vice president of the Italian Forestry Students Association, IFSA, and she is now continuing collaborating with IFSA, participating also in high-profile events such as the FAO World Food Forum and Committee on Forestry. So, Alessandra, the floor is yours.
Hi, ciao. Quite challenging speaks after this excellent presentation. As Elena said, I'm here today to talk about Sustainable University Network. We focus on student working group. The group was created 1 year ago. I want to thank Patrizia Lombardi, the director of the RUS, and Professor Elena Semenzin for acknowledging the importance of including students, but young in general, our voices. So the RUS was established in 2013, and initially the organization included only professor, only specialists. However, in 2023, students were also invited to join the organization, and we study a variety of topics. As Professor Semenzin said, I study forestry and environmental sciences, but my colleagues, they are they are here today. They study economic, policy, they study other topics. So our working group was created to be a space for university students, because we have even PhD students in that, where we can share intellectual and emotional engagement towards sustainability. It is also meant to foster collaboration between students from different disciplines and universities. A year ago, when we first had our online meeting, was just in this period, we were all so excited. We were full of ideas and hopes. However, we realized and learned that our initial priority will have been to getting know each other's, finding a common approach to in order to align our goal and find an effective work rhythm. Anyway, beside that, we managed to achieve lots of objectives. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here today. In order to make go back to the RUS, in order to make a positive change and to raise awareness among people, RUS has initiated a movement called Action for Climate. So what we do as a students to contribute in these goals? We create an activity, we create a project. We named Cleanup. The cleanup involves volunteers as a students, professor, or all who wants to contribute, who wants to participate. They come together to, we can say, revitalize clean up areas cluttered with human waste, with garbage, and with the intent of returning this space to the community, providing people with a cleaner and healthier space to live, space to thrive. So I want to underline that this cleaning initiative promotes both environmental, but even social sustainability, because we can say beyond reducing environmental waste, it cultivates community engagement by uniting individuals around a shared goal, fostering social cohesion, providing participants with a sense of purpose through a collective action. 16 universities have joined this initiative. We are optimistic that more institutions, along with new ideas, will participate in this in the coming year. Just for finish this, I want to say, I need coffee, okay, sorry. Given the complexity of the challenges faced, we have encountered, I think we have encountered more questions than answers this year, but we aim to expand our effort through continued action and to continued collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alessandra. And I want to thank all the panelists because you really shared your experience, commitment, and aims for the future as I wanted in this session. Thank you very much. So are there any urgent questions from the audience, also to Alberta and Costanza? If there are any, we have a few minutes for that. Yes, can I have the microphone?
Ciao, everybody. I'm Tatiana from Bolivia. I'm very happy to be here. As an engineering student and also lawyer, I'm so happy to see all of you here from a variety of degrees, making all those efforts and joining this fight that we all are here gathered together. So as above all an indigenous youth, I wanted to ask all of you, what advice can you give us to the ones that we are here for the first time, maybe our first event also, that seeing all the way that you have gone to this point, representing, advocating on those high levels, what advice can you give us to keep on our path? Because sometimes when we are further away in our communities doing the urgent job that we have to do, because otherwise we just give up, and that's not the solution. That's not what we want to do. But we know that it's important to go from the very local point to those high level areas. So we all know what is happening around, what can we do better, and join and embrace this diversity has something that propel us to get to better and more efficient solutions for everybody. Thank you.
To say something also, I mean, you are also involved if you like. Who wants?
Yeah. So first, thanks for the question. I will briefly answer, but then I will for sure give the floor to the others. I think the perspective of rural communities are very much needed, and it's something that, like, despite seems very hard to keep like up your work in the rural areas and then bring it to international fora is probably what we need the most. And then and I think, to be honest, sharing just a personal experience, I'm from Italy, from Sicily, but then and I've been seeing like impact of climate change everywhere and challenges that other people are facing and living every day. Before, like, I mean, I always realized that, but then there was one experience of my life that was like working in energy access in rural Africa that really opened up my eyes. And I know that not everyone can do this opportunity, they have these job opportunities or the experience, then to have their eyes totally open to understand what does it mean live in rural area, what does it mean living with energy access, water access, sanitation, and so many more access that people in rural area don't have. So not everyone can have this opportunity, but you facing these challenges and providing solution for these challenges are the one very much needed to join international fora, to speak up and then share your experience, claim your needs, and make sure you're heard. So that's my piece of advice.
I think that's a very interesting question. So in our case, when I started the association, we started more from international level and national level, while a lot of times, you start locally, you go international. So we started like international with G7, G20, but then we realized that we really needed to have also the local approach. That was the part that was missing. And so in our case, like in the concrete way, we try to fill this gap with the international and local is through partnership. They were extremely important to us. So we started to partners with especially a lot of youth associations, youth networks, etc., because it was impossible to us going from the international to every single place, in Italy and also like beyond Italy. So through the partnership, it was our way to get direct access to the local communities. And this was so important to us. So we started was like consultation sessions with like young people from the different communities, online, in person events, just like listen to them. And like for us, this was basically what made the difference, like being able to have like strong partnership with the association and trying to engage more people in this way. So that would be my concrete suggestion, to try to reach other youth association, forge partnership, and try in this way to reach every single local community that you're interested in.
So my advice is similar to the one of Alberta. So try to engage as much as you can with any kind of international organization. If I may say, my personal advice would be the one also try to engage with regional ones that keep a local eye, but then it also has an international environment. So for example, I just say to you, the MED, SDS and Youth MED, just link different countries. We are very different from within us, but we have some things that unite us. And we gave the opportunity to all the countries to be represented in there, even for those countries that are in difficulty right now, just as Syria, Libya, Morocco, the Middle East face in front of the Med Sea. So also try to exploit this kind of opportunities as this event, talk with other mates, exchanging contacts. And yeah, that's the main advice I would like to say to you.
I would briefly add like one thought of mine, which is to not just rely on institutions, which are very important, and that work on policy making and things like that is fundamental. I'm the president of a national council, so it would be stupid to say otherwise, no? But also it is important, and I will quote an important Italian philosopher, which is Gramsci, to go deeper on that. He said in a very interesting passage, like educate yourself, get agitated, and organize yourself. Which basically what it means is that we need to make this a collective issues. We need to organize people to agitate together to make our voices be heard. And this, I believe, is the main issue, to create awareness shared in our generation, and not only our generation, but also the older ones, and together claim and aim to a better policymaking effort from the public institutions and from governments. So that's what I think about it.
So with that, thank you again also for these additional talks. I invite you all to further networking with our panelists during the coffee break and also in the rest of the 2 days. But before going to grab our coffee, I invite Eleonora to briefly conclude this session.
Thank you, Elena. And thank you to all the panelists for their inspiring contribution. I would like only to highlight to expect, also in consideration of this last question, the fact that, first of all, sustainability is not just a task for governments, institutions, and corporations. It's an issue that requires the efforts of all of us, especially young people, to step up and at the same time to take action. As a future leader, innovators, and change makers, you and we have the power to influence policies and to shape our future. The second issue is that sustainability is not a task for individuals, because we have already said it, it's about community. It's about a collective effort to create a change. In fact, every action you take, every initiative can be inspired for other people. So what I want to say in conclusion of this session is that the world is looking not young people only for their ideas, but also for leadership, for the courage to stand up and say, we demand a better future, and we are willing to fight for it. We must believe in our capacity to make a difference, whether it's through small action in our communities or a large-scale innovation that can transform industries and our world. So I believe that this is our moment, the moment of young people to be the leaders of today, not only of tomorrow. So I invite you to believe in yourself, and because together we can build a future, the future that we all deserve. Thank you.
Hey everyone, now it's a coffee break. I'm sure that we could use a coffee, all of us. You can find the coffee break and the snacks I think that we have up on the mezzanine level. If you need to use the elevator, just hit go to the first floor. We start again at noon, so back here in the Aula Magna.
Prova?
Ok.
Metto solo la slide del
Cosa facciamo? Si comanda a distanza?
la slide volta per volta, le faccio partire il giro e poi voi poi telecomando e parte avanti.
Allora passiamolo qui, che lei è la prima?
Devi essere la prima.
Sì, sì, sei la prima.
Adesso metto la slide di
E mi raccomando i tempi che già...
Sono già andati, siamo già giocati.
Nei 2 giorni di qualche miliardi. Ti succede ogni tanto? Mi soffrivo, però non hanno che fare. Sono serviti di comprare una... Okay. Thanks a lot to coming. We have our session about the role of universities, research and innovation, sustainable business practices. I'm Marco Frey from Scuola Superiore Sant'Anna of Pisa, and we have 5 panelists discussing research, experiences, activities in this field. So I think that our goal is to demonstrate the capacity of universities and research centers to work in a multi-stakeholder approach, engaging companies, but also stakeholders in pathways that can increase the knowledge, firstly, but also the culture and the capacity to apply in the field the sustainability approaches and the vision on the future that sustainability contains. So we can start. Michela Gallo, Rus, University of Genova. So something about the use of robust tools like LCA regarding the capacity to create more circularity inside the research activities, but also inside the economy.
Thank you, Marco, for the introduction. I don't know if you can. I have just a few slides. I promise to be on time. Perfect. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here. And today, my presentation will refer to, in my opinion, a very good example of a cooperation between academia and industry. I'm Michela Gallo, professor at the University of Genoa at the Department of Civil, Chemical and Environmental Engineering. And today I wanted to introduce this partnership between the University of Genoa and Enel. It's a very long-lasting collaboration started in 2018 with several steps during these 6 years. The main purpose of this collaboration, this partnership is, of course, to improve the high-level research to address some corporate priorities and challenges, and of course try to support Enel in the development of new strategies. The main pillars of this long-lasting collaboration are knowledge, research and application, and the management of some critical issues that I will show you. So we start this cooperation through knowledge. I mean, the first step was considered by Enel itself to improve the knowledge, the awareness, the competence regarding the circular economy principles inside all the Enel's management. I mean, the high-level management. involving in the supply chain, the management, the governance, and so on. So for this reason, 3 edition of a huge and robust training program have been held, both 2 universities, with in cooperation also with Marco Frey, University of Genoa, and Scuola Superiore Sant'Anna. And it was a very interesting experience, as Marco knows. Then Enel decided to move to a real research activity with an application of what we learn. The first research where we were involved as an institution, as a university, was to define and better investigate the key role of a circular city towards the decarbonization targets. 4 cities were involved: Bogota, Glasgow, Genoa, Milan, very different cities, as you can see. Why Enel chose these 4 locations? Bogota, because it's considered a pioneer of a circular economy in South America. Genoa is one of the main ports of the Mediterranean Sea. Glasgow can be considered a good example of a post-industrial city. And Milan, of course, we were obliged to consider Milan because it's a financial center, the city of fashion, design. So a lot of different approach and very different city considering the others. 4 university and research center were involved. In this case, 2 Italian universities, so University of Genoa and Bocconi. And 3 sectors were considered: built environment, mobility, sustainability, energy system. Sustainable, energy system. So just few results. What we have done was an analysis with a life cycle assessment approach, starting from the main inventories data that characterize these cities. So we define a sort of baseline scenario. So for example, what is the impact of transport in Genoa? What is the impact of energy consumption in Milan or in Bogota? And then we move to define some improvement, some possible measure of reduction, and considering the built environment, the mobility, and the energy sector. So in this slide, you can see the list of some measures considered and the potential reduction that can be obtained in case the institution, the local municipalities want to go on. The second research where we were involved has a different approach. In this case, Enel wants to investigate specific critical issues related to the decarbonization. So as you know, one of the main aspects of decarbonization is moving from a fossil fuel to renewable energy, of course. But as you know, the main discussion and one of the main challenge is how to consider the use and the consumption of critical raw materials that are more involved in this transition to renewable energy. So the main scope and the main goal of this second research was, of course, the assessment of environmental risk in the supply chain of critical raw materials. So as you can see, in 2022, we started this research. We approached this research starting by the list of a European Commission of regarding the raw materials information system. So Europe has a specific definition of what are the critical raw material to be considered as critical in the future. Enel decided to investigate a specific 21 critical raw materials that are generally used for the energy transition for many reasons. So, for example, for the production of wind turbines, for the photovoltaic panels, and so on. And for each of these material, we define what is the impact in all the processes involved, also in this case in a life cycle assessment perspective. So from mining till the production, the final production. So in this case, I cannot show you the final result because it's a property of Enel, but this partnership with Enel is still ongoing. In 2024, they decided to move to a new list of critical material. So they add new material. They add also the investigation of the impact of the waste generated by the use of the technology, like, for example, the wind turbine or the photovoltaic panels at the end of life. So I don't want to use more time because I know that we have just 10 minutes for any presentation. And what I want to show you is a long-lasting collaboration of 6 years when we start from competence, creation of competence, of knowledge, till application in a very specific and detailed research. So I hope this could be interesting. And if you have any question, of course, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Michela. A very important research activity connected with the energy transition in particular, but also considering the circularity in the use of materials and also the collaboration, long-term collaboration with the big players.
You were involved too, as you know, so.
Yes.
And it's, in my opinion, it's a good example because several centers of research, several universities were involved. It is not only a work performed by the University of Genoa, involved also some international collaboration in terms of university, and also institutions were involved in the first project with cooperation with the local authorities in Bogota, Glasgow, Genoa, and Milan. So it's a very, I think, a good example of cooperation.
Systemic approach.
Systemic approach.
Okay. Some specific questions for Michela? No one? Then at the end, I think we have space for the discussion in general. Second contribution. We started with cooperation between university and companies. In this case, it's a research activity internal in university. It's very important for university to, and RUS is a good network in this field, to create knowledge, also to improve the sustainability capacity of the university. So, Danilo De Marchi, Politecnico di Torino, and City Culture, something about the possibility to do very interesting things inside the campus. Please.
Yeah, thank you, Marco. Well, I'm here. Thank you for, first of all, inviting me. I thank the colleague Patrizia Perego and all the organizers for inviting me to present this project that we have having with City Culture. I start introducing what City Culture is. City Culture is a startup in the Torino area, founded by the guy that you see in the picture. You see it behind, but is Balbiano, Luca Balbiano, who is the last representative of a historical family wine producers in Fresia. Fresia is a local, very good wine, of course. And with Luca, we started working because they have this idea. They are a visionary project for installing vineyards inside cities. So which are our main goals? By sure, we want to promote with this action a good relation between nature, human well-being, using technologies from engineers. I'm an electrical engineer, and I'm able to design this. So a mobile phone. So I'm very dangerous for sustainability. I can be very dangerous. So this is why now it's time that we started by sure a few years ago, many years ago, to work on applying and thinking how our technologies can be and must be sustainable, working with people, experts as you, in arriving to set up sustainable technologies. And this project exactly has this main goal, to spread the culture of sustainability using measurable things, so to set up something real that you can see with your eyes. So to set up this new concept of green urbanization. So what is city culture at Polito? To install a vineyard, so to give and to share this experience, by sure, starting locally with our students, with our scientists, so they can have a direct access to a reality. And also, I'm proud to say that last year, I am a founder with some other colleagues. I can say it was the seed of it, of the idea, the new master degrees in agri-tech engineering. So a new degree where exactly we want to train and to grow the new experts in the future applying engineering technologies. Is a multidisciplinary course. So we have mechanics, electronics, computer science, material science, biology all together for growing engineers, okay, that will work in the field. And by sure, we want to, with this project, to show which are our concepts of urban sustainability. So first, this vineyard will be for research. For research, because we will install inside the vineyard our experiments, our studies. Again, I really love the definition of smart agriculture introduced by FAO, climate smart agriculture. I see is the right way of thinking. And so we want to do this. Of course, engaging first the students and the researchers in agri-tech engineering, but also all the colleagues from Politecnico di Torino, but not only, because this action is done also in cooperation with University of Torino. There are colleagues from University of Torino who are working with us, because as I always say, we are engineers, not agronomists. So it is a cooperation that we must do. And we also want to prove that this cooperation can work. I always do the parallel between biomedical engineers and medical doctors. So I will never ask a biomedical engineer to implant me a pacemaker, but I will never ask to a medical doctor to design a pacemaker. So the idea here is to share this action with our colleagues in agronomy for finding the, in research side, our work. And so to set up is clear, a living lab. But a living lab is not just for us, of course, it is open for the community. So the living lab will be open first, again, with our students. So it's not closed, it is in the middle of our classroom. So the students can enjoy, can live it, can stay under the shade during the summer, and also have a direct touch, okay, of what we are doing. So it will not be remain just a prerogative of the students, but we hope to become a new element of belonging. And for Politecnico di Torino, we have, of course, the use of this public area available for showing our activities also to stakeholders. Because I know I'm working a lot now with farmers, I know they are skeptic about the use of technologies in agriculture. And what we want to do, as again, FAO is doing with these fantastic actions, going inside for installing real working examples. So we want to show to our stakeholders, to the people interested, something real that you can touch. And so to demonstrate by facts, I always say, a suburban engineer is something really close to reality, okay? Two things are very close to reality. So we want to do exactly this. And of course, we hope to continue our work we are doing for the city of Turin for going to prove the excellence of the work. And this is also why we really believe in the cooperation with the university. It's not just a Politecnico action, is shared between the two universities and with also, I like to say, a startup. So we are engaging, and we planned also to engage companies. So I said stakeholders. So we want to engage stakeholders to do also research with us. I hope that I was quite quick and I was able to transfer you the concept. I don't have still the map of it. I just had yesterday a meeting with security, so it was quite a tough meeting. No, it was okay. All the colleagues, I must say, and thank Patrizia, she was the first very happy of this action. All the colleagues are happy and are really sustaining us for doing, of course, a good job, secure and everything. So I don't have still the exact map, but we will do it soon. And we have a 7th of November. We hope to arrive with Regione Piemonte. In that case, will be a sort of kickoff, okay, presentation of our action. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, and congratulations, Danilo. So strong cooperation between two organizations, so City Culture and Politecnico, but also is very interesting the creation of this kind of living lab available for other spin-off or startups that want to operate in this field. For the young people, the wine sector in Italy is quite interesting to understand a big change in the last 40 years. Because 40 years ago, we had a terrible crisis in the wine sector, starting in Piedmont, for the methanol. Do you remember? Yeah. And after this crisis, the business model of companies, but also in general, the approach in this sector changed a lot. And in 25 years, we created a very different position in the market from the Italian companies, reaching quality, reaching more sustainability, and the quantity produced is quite the same than 40 years ago. The value in the market is more than 4.5 of the wine salad. The consumption is an half now. So the last part, 50%, is exported in the world. So we can say that in this case, in the agricultural sector, we created the model in which do better with less. So there is, if you want, sustainable approach. And this, it was also an occasion to attract more people. Young people working in agriculture, very important. Business activities, so possibility for startups. And also international tourists, because around the wineries, there are many opportunities to take a strong knowledge of the Italian quality of life. So I think that work in this field is also a personal occasion to change the perspective from a traditional electric engineer and an interdisciplinary contribution to sustainable development.
Absolutely.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, Andrea Moro, also in this case, we speak about initiative inside the university activities, more related to climate change challenge. And the organization is IISBE, Italy. So please describe your experience, and then we can comment the importance also of this field.
Thank you very much. And this presentation is coming from a partnership between the organization I'm representing, ISBE. It's an acronym that stands for International Initiative for Sustainable Built Environment. It's a global organization located in Canada with several chapters, and I'm heading the Italian chapter located here in Torino at the Energy Center. And the partnership is together with the Polytechnic of Turin, and I thank in particular Patrizia Lombardi for inviting me here to tell you about this partnership that is focused on what? Defining basically the first sustainability, carbon neutrality, climate adaptation assessment tool specifically developed for campuses. I'm delivering this presentation also on behalf of the Professor Sara Torabi that is collaborating in this initiative. We are talking about universities, we are talking about sustainability. Universities must be front runners in sustainable development. They have, of course, a central role in education and innovation. They are preparing the future engineers, future architects that will shape the built environment, and they must be aware, must be competent in carbon neutrality, climate adaptation, and sustainability. And of course, universities, they have a societal role in addressing those challenges. And of course, the fact that a university is improving its own infrastructure, academic buildings and the campuses itself, this is also for the well-being and safety of the users of the campuses and academic buildings, of course. And of course, sustainability is also something that can bring to an operational efficiency and economic benefits. It's also a way to attract students, faculties, fundings. If you are sustainable and young people is committed to sustainability, well, probably you have more opportunity to be their future university. And of course, front runners, a university must be an example for the broader community. But this is not me, it's Lord Kelvin. Of course, if you want to improve something, you must be able to measure it. If you want to be more sustainable, you should be able to measure this more sustainable. You should be able to define in a measurable way your baseline. You should be able to fix targets to be achieved. So basically, you need an assessment tool for measuring the sustainability of both academic buildings and campuses. And well, when I talk about an assessment system, what do I mean? Basically, a multi-criteria assessment system that is able to assign performance scores to buildings and campuses, to rate campuses and buildings depending on this score, and to act as a common language. We can talk about sustainable campuses. What does it mean, a sustainable campus? What are the performances of a sustainable campus? It's a quite complex issue because we are talking about energy, materials, water, transportation, mobility, blah, blah, blah. There are many, many different topics. We should agree what are those topics. We should agree how to measure the performance in relation to those topics. And there are already application of assessment systems on campuses. In our cooperation, we have set up a working group between ISBE and Polytechnic of Turin. We have done a study about existing assessment systems, existing indicators for campuses, but at the end, the result is there is not a specific tool tailored, studied, designed for this specific application. Campuses and academic buildings, they have very specific functions. We have a lot of different functions. We have, of course, laboratories, we have classrooms, offices, libraries, and so on. Each one with different functions, each one with different sustainability requirements. So it's a quite complex task, but this is our goal. We want to define an assessment system applicable to this kind of uses. And what is the use of an assessment system? Well, we can use it to benchmarking, for instance, the actual level of climate neutrality, climate adaptation, sustainability for the campus as a whole and for the single buildings. We can do a diagnosis, we can understand where the weaknesses are, and we can set measurable goals to improve in the future. If you have an assessment system, you are collecting data about energy consumption, CO2 emissions, permeability of land, the use of natural light, many different topics. And so you can use those data for supporting your decision-making to decide which is the better strategy to improve the situation. An assessment system that puts together many different topics brings you to have an holistic view. So it's not just addressing silos, the different sustainability topics, it's to address them with an integrated approach, integrative approach. It means also to find the measures that can bring to an improvement in different fields. And of course, if you have data, you can more easily engage people in this process towards a better sustainability, starting from the students, but also people, professors, people living in the campus. So you can raise the awareness about the situation and what to do. You can, of course, use the data for reporting your commitment and results shift. You can use the system for a continuous improvement to learn and also for external communication. Well, we have established this working group. Our objective is to develop this specific assessment system for campuses, starting from the Polytechnic of Turin, but our idea is to create a system applicable to any campus of better context, that you can contextualize or adaptable to any campus, any academic building, not only in Italy, also in the world, because the method is allowed to do it. And we want to create a system and able to support all the project stages from the design, planning, construction is built and in use. Why ISB and Polytechnic of Turin? Because ISB is an organization that started from almost 25 years ago, developed an assessment method based on this principle of contextualization. It's a method used to develop also several national systems. We have one in Italy for buildings. It is the public assessment system used by the Italian regions. It is named Protocollo Itaca. It's also a uni-standard. But there are all other systems coming from this method. The national Japanese one, KASHBI, is a cousin of our Italian system, for instance. So we start in 1998 developing this common language, and the result has been a method that is then has been implemented in different frameworks at building, neighborhood, and city scale that you can easily adapt to any context. So starting from a common root, you can generate a contextualized system reflecting local priority needs, etc. This is the weak point of many translational systems that tend to be applied as they are everywhere. But starting from the weather conditions up to the level of standard practice situations can be very different. And the use of this system allows to generate scores that tells you how is performing your building or your urban area, in this case, the campus, in regards to a level 0, that is the minimum acceptable, up to a level 5, that is the optimal situation. We have done at the moment the baseline preparatory activity. There is a very large group from Polytechnic working on this activity. So we have done a state-of-art study, finding what is already existing in this field. We have identified all the specific, like a taxonomy of the functions hosted in the campus and academic buildings. And we have already identified the key topics to be included. Now we are in the stage of designing the tools. After designing the tools, we will test them on the Polytechnical campus and some academic buildings. And finally, we'll use the system as also education tools, because one also very nice result of those tools is that you can use them for educating also in workshops, atelier, and other kind of courses. We plan to conclude this activity at the beginning of 2026 to start the test phase at the beginning of 2025. If you are interested, these are my email address and the email address of Sara Torabi from the Polytechnic Torino. You can contact us or contact Patrizia Lombardi, and you are very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Some specific questions to Andrea? Please.
Just a second for people from home that are following remotely.
Well, hi, I'm Santiago. I am from Buenos Aires. I would love to see this methodology in Buenos Aires universities. I wanted to ask some specific questions, just being curious, like why would you create, or why is it necessary to create a specific methodology for universities or campuses and not use, for example, what's already used with buildings, for example? And I wanted to ask that, and if you have already, I don't know, talked with the University of Genoa and other universities in Italy to implement this methodology.
Sorry, I just missed the point. Why don't you use?
Why couldn't we use the specific methodology that is already used for buildings, for example, and why is it necessary to create a specific methodology for campuses, for example?
First of all, we are not creating a specific methodology. The methodology is already existing. We are creating a specific tool for campuses. The reason is because when you are assessing the sustainability of a building, you are, of course, calculating indicators for energy, water, thermal, etc. And you must benchmark those values against, baseline values. So basically, the work is to calibrate the assessment tool using baseline values that fit for academic buildings and campuses. At the moment, there are systems like, I don't know, or LEED or BREEAM or other applied to also this kind of buildings, but they have not been conceived specifically for this kind of buildings that are very complex in terms of different functions. And also another issue is when you are using an assessment system in your specific context, Buenos Aires, for instance, and I'm using the system here in Turin, probably we have different priorities. And also, maybe our level of advancement can be different. So if I use benchmarks that are the same for all, this is not reflecting the real situation. I can tell you a very short story about that, just to clarify this point. In one research project, we were working with an Austrian partner defining an assessment system, it was just energy, for the alpine buildings. Okay, we agreed about the indicator, but when was the moment to fix the benchmark? They said, oh, well, for us, level 0, the minimum acceptable performance is a passive house. I said, no, in Italy, for us, passive house is level 5, so it's the top, it's not the same. So I can't use your benchmark because if not, all my buildings will be negative. What I want to do is to improve my local situation. So I fix the level on the actual performance. I fix 5 passive house, so I'm pushing towards the passive house. So this is the meaning. When you use a system that is not contextualized, this is not reflecting your local situation. Also the weight given to the different parameters. Maybe in one location, water is very important because it's scarce. In another one, water, you have plenty of water, so you don't care. But if you use the same weight for those two criteria, you are not reflecting again your local situation. So what we are doing is
a generic system in the technical language named generic framework that you can adapt to your local specific situation. So you can take in future this system and use it in Buenos Aires, but you will adapt it. And we are also creating a system of indicators that is reflecting the functions, the complexity of these buildings and campuses. Also connecting the two scales, the building with the urban one.
Oh.
That's why we are creating a new approach.
Okay, thanks a lot. So not only benchmarking, but also considering the possibility to adapt, tailor the tool on the specific university or campus. Now, Matteo Beccuti, MV Park. MV Park is a very interesting facility in which many actors, more than 70, work together. So the question of cooperation among research and business activities, I think, is our natural work every day. Please.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here also because MV Park will be soon a strong partner of Polytechnic, because Polytechnic is going to become soon one of our stakeholders. So I'm Matteo Beccuti, I'm the CEO of MV Park, and I also bring greetings from the president of MV Park, Giacomo Portas, who could not be here today. Before of all, I have to explain what MV Park is. Environment Park, MV Park is the short name, is a technology park, the technology park of Turin that has been active for over 20 years in the field of environmental sustainability. We are a private company with public stakeholders and shareholders. We have inside the city of Turin, the region Piedmont, the Chamber of Commerce, the water utility of Turin, and the Energy One. We are a competence center supporting companies, R&D institutions, and also public administration. A lot of projects were born here, and our business model develops in two main areas. One is the renting one, and the other one that is called in the slide innovation services is divided into four fields of research. One is the green chemistry, another one is the green building. We have also surface treatment with plasma, and the last one, advanced energy, and in particular hydrogen. MV Park rises in the center of Turin, where a brownfield made of abandoned steel factories was transformed in the 90s in a park dedicated to the environment. We have more of 30,000 square meters, hosting 60 companies and hosting our access, open access research infrastructure too. A curiosity, we own the largest green roof area in Europe. We are also a technology demonstrator. And for example, we will demonstrate that a green future is possible, reaching the carbon neutrality in 2030 and later than in 2055 as the target of the European Union. One of the main areas of collaboration between MV Park and the Polytechnic of Turin is related to hydrogen, that is for us a central element in the energy transition. This collaboration aims to create a regional hydrogen supply chain, linking local companies with advanced technology providers and developing low carbon solutions for hard to decarbonize industries. Here we can see our goals that are boosting the energy transition in Piedmont, creating a regional hydrogen supply chain, and guiding local companies through the new hydrogen economy. How we want to reach them, pinpointing the technology producers which can contribute to the hydrogen supply chain, proposing tailored low carbon solution for the decarbonization of industrial processes, and creating synergies among the sectors in which hydrogen can play a crucial role. The partnership between ENVI Park and Polytechnic has led to driving the hydrogen transition in many areas. The energy-intensive industries, road and no-road mobility, testing activities of electrolyzer and fuel cell systems, also with the components for hydrogen applications, and we follow the chain of hydrogen, the production, the storage, the distribution of this gas. We develop also a demonstration initiative. For example, we bought the first hydrogen fuel cell car as a tool both for large public engagement and specific test operations. Another example, we built in the 25 hydrogen motorcycle made only with pieces, with part made in the area of Piedmont. So Piedmont is a region that can play a critical role in the hydrogen transition. Okay, this is a sky view of ENVI Park. A key aspect of the cooperation concern research infrastructures. ENVI Park hosts advanced facilities for hydrogen production, storage, and use, as well as for CO2 valorization. The Polytechnic of Turin conducts its experimental activities in these facilities, which include electrolyzers, fuel cell, etc. Okay. Polytechnic of Turin and also the Italian Institute of Technology, that is a research institute of Genoa that has also some laboratories in Turin inside our park, carry out their experimental activities in our facilities. We have more than 1,500 square meters. We have test stations equipped with hydrogen and technical gases. Hydrogen is tasted in electrochemical conversion. And we made a study also for geological storage. And we own a pilot line for electrochemical devices production. An expansion of laboratories is planned to further expand hydrogen-related research and development activities. The cooperation is organized through framework contracts and temporary consortia to fulfill the requirements of customers. In this context, ENVI Park is responsible for design of new infrastructures and technical management of the facilities, while the Polytechnic of Turin is responsible for scientific conceptions and research and for development activities. Okay, this slide is very important because our collaboration with the Polytechnic of Turin is helping to shape the energy future of the region. And at the European level, the collaboration between these two realities contribute best, okay, thank you very much, was the best in Italy in terms of European funding in the field of hydrogen, obtaining more than the 26% of the funds allocated to the whole country. Above all, we show to our area that a transition is really possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Matteo? Specific question, Matteo? No? Okay, so not only the cooperation among companies, not only the possibility to create a new opportunity also for startup to cooperate at the international level, but also the strong relationship with the institutions at the regional level. Now, last but not least, a young postdoc, so Manav Khanna from Scuola Superiore Sant'Anna, and Manav present a specific project of research in which we can find different aspects related to our discussion. So Manav, please.
Hello, everyone. I am a young researcher, so just finished my PhD last year with Professor Frey on circular economy and climate change. So it's a huge pressure to be in the panel who is really, all of them are experts. So I'm trying my best to connect with you because I have been part of Youth4Climate for 4 years. So I try my best to give you the presentation that will be very useful for you in future and the work that you are doing. I'm currently working on a sustainable mobility project, which is called D-Smart, Digitalization for Sustainable Mobility, Accelerating a Right Transition. And today I'm going to talk about like the main sustainable mobility and why I'm applying, like we are applying system thinking approach and what are the emerging business models. And since you are one of the innovators, and I hope this would be interesting for you to understand what are the emerging business model and what are the opportunities available in sustainable mobility. And if you have any question, would be very welcome to have. So according to the latest report published by European Environment Agency, it has proved that the EVs, the emissions produced by EVs are already 17 to 30% lower than the traditional diesel and petrol car. And it is predicted by 2050, it will be 73% lower. So it's a huge environment benefits. When we talk about energy transition, when we talk about just transition in sustainable mobility, understanding the negative impacts of climate change, and understanding the economy point of view, the EV registrations in Europe made last year almost 24% of sales. And this is projected that it will be 60% by 2050. So decarbonization is the challenge, but decarbonization can only be done when it's applied with the, as other speakers said, like the right use of technology, how digitalization can be useful in this transition. So the main question arises is how to achieve sustainable mobility, in which we understand what are the stakeholders involved, what are the challenges regarding adoption of technology in sustainable mobility, what is the role of private sector, how civil society organizations and NGOs are moving in this transition. So it's a multidisciplinary approach, project, and we are seeing from all the perspective, whether public policy, private sector, and also the role of civil society organization. So we need to understand what are the frameworks available, what are the methodology available that can be applied, seeing the view of every stakeholder involved. So that's why system thinking approach is very widely used in not only in mobility, but across different sectors, whether in agriculture, whether in energy transition, in order to understand how to apply this system thinking approach. It's one of the things to have the broader view of all the stakeholders involved and also understand their challenges. So you can see, like, if we talk about system, what it means, like the role of actors, what are the processes involved, what are the values that they are creating, and how to map the system. So I believe in the philosophy of explaining everything to my grandmother. If you understand simple system thinking approach in simple words, is like a body. Body has millions of cells. So system thinking approach works like how each cell in a body affects the overall effectiveness of the system. So in order to understand system thinking approach, we need to understand what are the interdependencies that each and small character has that affects the overall effectiveness on the system. So in a complex system, when we talk about sustainable mobility, it is very useful to understand where the transition is happening, why the transition is happening. And in order to make it resilient, since after COVID, there is a lot much talk about in academic research, also the practitioners, they're talking about, we have to make system resilient. So in order to make it resilient, we need to understand everything that is affecting the small components of the system. So as I mentioned already, that e-mobility involves many elements like vehicles, infrastructure policies, and user behavior. And also when it comes to technology adoption, we also need to understand the socio-technological aspect of culture associated, because people, when regarding the adoption of new technology, there is always a resistance. So we need to understand why the resistance is happening and how can we find the hotspots to intervene in the in this relationship. And system thinking approach is also useful since I have had like a lot of experience like with the consulting work, and also if you apply as a researcher, if you're applying for European projects, they are more quite rigorous in a way, like qualitatively and quantitatively rigorous. So system thinking approach is really helpful to know and have the technical expertise in system thinking approach to have, let's say, research fundings and also. So I conducted like the study and also see like in Europe how the system thinking approach has been used. Like it has been used to integrate electric mobility with the public transport systems, reducing emissions and improving connectivity. But if you look at the global south, it has been used, like say I took the example of country like India and Kenya, since I'm from India. It helps like electric mobility by addressing infrastructure challenges. It's the biggest problem in the global south. And I explained about the system right now, but if you explain about the cells in system, they are called feedback loops. And feedback loops in the system thinking are fundamental mechanism through which system regulate themselves and maintain the stability to undergo any change. So if there is no feedback, that means there is no system. So we need to understand how, if we take a top-down approach, going down in the system, but we also have to come out of the system and see how the overall system is generating. And this is what we are doing in this project, understanding all the aspects regarding digitalization and all the stakeholders involved, whether it's the private sector involvement, citizen engagement. And these feedback loops are called reinforcing feedback and balancing feedback. So I think this is very interesting for you because you can relate this with the climate change since both of you, all of you are working on climate change scenario. So it's the basic thing is if temperature is increasing, it increases the climate change mitigation actions. It's obvious. And now if the mitigation actions are increasing, that means the temperature will definitely, I mean, that's why we have to mitigate the negative impacts of climate change and how it balances the system. You see like temperature increases, that means ice will melt down and that will reflect the overall radiation that has concentrating in the atmosphere. So I use this slide deliberately in order to give you an idea how system thinking is very useful to understand the whole system from the climate change point of view, since all of you are working on climate change. So once you design the system, all the interactions and interdependencies will look like this. We have designed, I'm not talking about the work that we have done, but it will be very technical and I want to be as basic and as simple as possible. So it will look like this once you design all the interdependencies, all the stakeholders and how they are moving in the system, whether have a positive impact, whether have a negative impact, and how it's affecting the overall effectiveness of the system. And give you an idea about the system thinking approach. Right now, the project is in the first year, it's in the initial phase. So we have done how the transition is happening, how we have conducted the study, and we have also mapped the emerging business models in sustainable mobility. So we have mapped all the business model regarding B2B, regarding B2C, but I took only 4, which are very easy to understand and easy to connect. You can say like mobility as a service. Uber is the best example to see like mobility service and to understand the role of different actors, like the role of technology, the role of users, the role of end design, interplay in the policy system, and the shared mobility solution, and also how electric vehicle fleets and charging infrastructure. These are like the all emerging business model, which easy to understand and easy to connect. Like, okay, these are the business model. If I'm also working in sustainable mobility, what are the business model that I can tap in if you want to, let's say, connect with the B2B, B2C, and also with the, I mean, also can be linked to role of civil society organization or NGOs. I wanted to give you a little bit update of the project. And since we all live in the social media generation, so if you want to have more update about this project, feel free to scan this QR code, and we update our project like time to time. And we give like what are the activities that we are conducting in this space. So if you have any questions, please let me know. And I thank everyone to listen and also being given me the opportunity to be here. I'm very nervous, sorry. And yeah, in case, wow. And I also want to highlight one thing, since I'm a young researcher, if you want to continue your research on climate change and sustainability, you can get in touch with Professor Frey. I'm also thankful to the opportunity that has given me by Scholar Superior Santana and Professor Frey. So, and he is leading many international projects that can give you this kind of exposure, that can give you a lot of understanding how, like understanding the technical aspects of climate change. So please get in touch with him, and also to me, okay, thank you.
Stop. Stop, Manav. Yes. Thank you for the contribution from the young perspective, but also the global south perspective. So I think that we have a few minutes, yes, for the discussion. Yeah. Please.
No. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
Hello, my name is Anab. I actually don't have a question. I just have a comment to Mr. Khanna.
You said in the start that you are not an expert, but after that presentation, we can all see that you're a great expert on this field. So thank you so much. Give it up for him again.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kana or Dr. Kana. You've done a very good presentation. So you cite an example about Uber, and we know recently Uber is trying to transition into electric vehicle, but
can you please take my
into electric vehicle? And from your presentation, you are trying to look at the social aspect of transitioning to electric vehicle. So I think they are trying to integrate smart vehicles, so automated vehicle, like autonomy vehicle. So what do you think? Or we should direct the question to professor rather than, so you push it to professor.
Okay. Okay. I'm very sorry. I didn't understand your question correctly.
Okay.
Could you please?
So what do you think, what is the social impact of transitioning to electric vehicle for Uber driver? Because that is the source of living, and it's happening around the world. It's not only in Italy, or it's happening around the world. So they're trying to transition to e-mobility, full autonomy vehicle. So what is the impact on the social life of the drivers?
Okay, so I should answer this question, or I should leave my professors to answer this question? Okay. Look, I come from Global South, and those who have been in Global South, and they know once regarding the social aspect when it comes to the, let's say, the security regarding life insurance of the driver and how in difficult circumstances they work in. Right now, the project is not looking at the social aspect, but if I have the capacity or ability, I would be very happy to look at the social aspect, even looking at the life of students, like if they are working part-time and how they are like working with the Glovo and Just Eat like platform. So this is a social aspect that yet we should talk about, but in this project, we are not looking at this prospect. But it's very important to look. I know there are some think tanks working on sustainable mobility. They particularly look at the social impact that these platforms are creating. It's also, it's good to have like everything on the table. Like if it's raining, we can have 5 minutes, we can order pizza and get everything. But there is a cost associated with it, which we sometimes overlook or don't see. I wish I had the capacity to look in that part of too, but I also have, like the project scope and project obligations that doesn't allow me to look into that aspect. But my heart and my soul actually care about when I see a student coming to my home and just deliver in rain like a pizza or something that we get. So I think we should look into this, but I don't have a right answer for you. If my professor or any expert here want to add something, would be very, very nice.
Did you want to add something? We've got one more question over here, up here in the back.
Hi, my name is David Henry. I am from one of the Caribbean islands called St. Lucia. I have a very unique question, I think that, and I'm asking to the right table. In St. Lucia, we're small island states, but we suffer from a number of problems affecting our country. Most of it stems from failing to meet the demands that the damaged climate is doing to our country. And we have many actors who are individually doing small roles, small projects, but collectively there's nothing in place to actually derive tangible, visible results. Now, I've heard about working with various sectors. I've heard about leadership and systems building. I'm looking to bring a project throughout the Caribbean that focuses on systems, developing systems. My question would be, what strategies or advice would you give to me to be able to develop a climate, especially a youth-focused climate system that brings together various stakeholders?
Yes, a very complex. So yes, okay. It's not easy to put in place a real systemic, not only approach like Manav described, but also a systemic capacity to work together. And this is a typical problem of Italy. In Italy, we are not able to put in place systemic approaches. But I think that here you can understand a quite good capacity of universities to work together. I do the same in the private sector. I'm the chairman of the UN Global Compact Italy. And now more than 600 companies work together with some other actors like universities. So when we are trying to do this, we can put together different components, private sector, and we receive some examples, best practices. Universities, and the RUS is one important actor. Enrico Giovannini is not here now, but represent a strong organization of NGOs in Italy. So I think that everyone can try to create conditions to work together. But probably the best place to do this will be COP29. Usually it's not easy to have a general vision of the future, but sustainability is the vision of the future. I think especially you, especially young people, can help us to create a better world, because we are responsible of some of the conditions that we live now. So we have to work together.
If I can, with the Polytechnic of Turin, we did some cooperation projects in Tunisia, in Morocco in the past to give rise park as MV park abroad. So it's something that I wanted to, to remember, to answer.
But if I can say one thing, we had a workshop in Bologna a few weeks ago, and there was we had to fill a table saying which can be the trigger, which are the main players that can push forward our concept, and from the other side, which are the stoppers. Well, I propose to say first politics. So because we need political decisions to drive, because even, you know, the funding that we receive as researchers for do things arises from politics, from political decision to support. From the other side, also a little bit joking, I said, which are the stoppers? Politicians. So, but in some way, you know, if you have in your hands the decisions, you can be also the stopper. So it is very important that first education. So this way, the role of, I'm a university guy, so the role of universities is to really educate the new generations as you are also doing a really great job. So it is our responsibility to really grow new generations having in mind the importance of some choices. And I already said, there's two things, they work together if you arrive proving, really showing real examples. And I cite again the FAO actions in all around the world, setting up locally fields for training local people, for showing that it works. So I say education for triggering the right decisions from politics that are proven by real examples. This is, in my way, the view.
Thank you.
So the mic is dead here, so I just want to make a quick announcement. Lunch is going to be in the same place as the coffee break. And then after lunch, the session split into two. So the delegates for Rus will be in this room, and then the other sessions, if you'd like to follow those, will be in room 302, okay?
Dobbiamo uscire di qua, no? Non ho
Per
capito.
pranzo?
Sì.
No, cioè sulle mezzanini, il livello...
Al mezzanino.
Sì, sì, in mezzo...